Let me welcome you all here. It's such an honor for me, and I'm sure I could easily say that it's an honor for all of us that are in this room, and others that they're not here, but they live in US, they live in Europe, they live all over the world. Any Albanian don't need no introduction for Congressman Engel. Every Albanian have Congressman Engel in their heart, in their soul, in their prayers. What he achieved for us, what he did for Albanian nation, and particularly for Kosovo, there's no words for me to say. And majority of the time, I have no problem talking. But to talk about such a personality, individual like Congressman Engel, that I know him for 30 years, I just don't find myself put together well enough, good enough to say. So with that, I want to give you Congressman Engel. Let him say hello to Vatra. Let him say hello to his friends that all of us are. And we cannot thank you enough for everything you've done for our people, for our nation, and for Albanian rights in general all over the world. Thank you, Congressman Engel. And you don't need to get up. You're going to stay there.
Somebody maybe give him a little bit brief of history on Vatra. I have done, but maybe Dalip or somebody else also explain it very briefly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rafael.
Yeah.
Rafael.
You okay?
I can.
Yes, sure.
Go ahead. Just, I think it would be nice to do
Yeah,
a
just
little
very
brief in English.
You don't need to get
again.
up.
So,
I believe you have been in contact with Vatra in the past because it is an organization, but we also refer to it as an institution because it was formed on the basis of helping the Albania at the time in 108 years ago, and that was before the independence of Albania, April. It came together in Boston, a few Albanian patriots it was a result of a previous organization that they decided that they were going to land a strategy, a platform, a national platform to Albania at the time did not exist as a country. So they came together and they decided that it was going to be called, maybe you know a little bit Albanian, Vatra, and it means the heart. It was a place as a symbol of everybody coming together, sitting down, discussing things, feeling at home. So it has been associated with that feeling throughout its time, and it's one of the Vatra members, my uncle, used to say that is one of the reasons why Albanians feel so close to it, because it's an organization that speaks to them as homeland does, Vatra. So, moving forward, they were a factor in the state forming of Albania. In 1912, Albania became independent in the terms of it was recognized as an independent country because the Vatra members were able to make it a member state in the League of Nations, and that's where the modern Albania comes from. So that means you know what it means in Kosovo, the more modern Albania, the borders as they are today. And moving forward, so Vatra was a state forming factor in 1912. That was the beginning of the 20th century. At the end of the 20th century, Kosovo, Vatra members were also part of, again with the diaspora leaders and the community leaders, were part in the negotiations and the signing of many agreements. All the gentlemen here can speak more than I can because they have been a part of Vatra for many, many years. We have members that have been persecuted by the communist system regime in Albania, 50 years and more, members of Vatra. So that is 108 years old, an organization that has the history, the background. It is not associated with any political party, does not have political affiliations. It is strictly based on a national strategy, national platform, and that's where it advocates for all Albanians and ethnic Albanians wherever they are. That's where Vatra stands, and that's what Vatra is. So, I'm sure it's not satisfactory, but I hope it'll do for now, and anybody can come in.
It's wonderful. Thank you, Rafaela. Harry, would you like to?
I just would like to add that, Congressman, in the last 30 years, you've been with us on the forefront of freedom and independence for Kosovo, democracy for Albania, Albania becoming part of NATO, and Albanians in Macedonia, you know, equal rights, and Montenegro and other places. The community in the last 100 and some years has played instrumentally, has been a factor in Albania's independence, Albania's democracy. And the community again came together with your help, with American friends, with America, and helped Kosovo become free and independent nation. United States of America helped Albania at the Versailles Conference, which we went to Versailles in Rambouillet in 1999. It helped Albania, whereas Albania today remain Albania. And United States, nearly 100 years later, with the leadership of President Clinton, Senator Dole, yourself, and many other leaders, Kosovo today is a free and independent nation. And we're very thankful that you've been part of this journey in the last 30-some years to see Kosovo free and independent nation. So Vatra is a continuation of community making the difference for the Albanian nation for over 100 years. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being with us. And thank you for visiting Vatra today with us. Thank you, all of you, for being here.
Let me say, because you know, Harry and I are very close friends, and I met Harry. Many of you have heard the story, but Harry came into my office one day in 1989, which was the first year I served in Congress, to talk to me about Kosovo and what was going on there. And the more that I found out about it, the more I became attracted to it and attached to it, and feeling that I could play an important role. And you all know what happened then, in 1999, 10 years later, with the bombing of the Serbs. And we have continued to push, obviously, Albanian causes and a free and independent Kosovo. I was happy to see the Kosovo flag here as well, because I think that's very, very important. When I'm now the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and so ambassadors from all over the world visit me each and every day. Foreign ministers, presidents, prime ministers come to visit me. There's not a person who comes to visit me that doesn't hear from me about Kosovo, about how important it is that that country, depending on what their country has done, supports Kosovo, votes for Kosovo, blocks the Serbs from doing what they're doing, which is despicable. And it's really, I really owe it all to Harry. And it's gotten to a point with me where I feel so committed to the Albanian nation and so committed to all things Albanian that I address these things to foreign dignitaries with a fervor. I'm always looking out, and many of you know Jason, who works for me, who runs my committee now, actually. He also has been in every meeting that we've had with the United States officials, with foreign officials, with the European Union, down and down and down. So you actually have, you may not have any Albanian American theoretically serving in the U.S. Congress right now, but you have me, and I think I do at least as good as anybody who has Albanian blood, because I kind of feel that the Albanian fight is really my fight. And I'm delighted with the organization. You explained it very well. And you know, I've seen in the 30 years, 32 years since I've been in Congress, I've watched the Albanian diaspora here in New York flourish and grow and be successful business people, and the children being successful in terms of being professional people. And it's really the same story like every other immigrant group in the United States. My own family came to America from Eastern Europe just before World War I. My grandmother on my mother's side came here in 1907, and my grandmother and my grandfather on my father's side came in 1913. So it's you know, a very similar story in terms of this great country, the United States. Regardless what people's political affiliation is, this is a great country where people can come virtually penniless to a new land and be successful, let their talents carry them as far as they can, and that has certainly been true about Albanian Americans. And one of my funniest stories is that I was in Las Vegas doing some work for fundraising and whatever, and I caught a taxi and I sat down and I looked at this guy's name and it was an Albanian last name. So I said to him, this is in Las Vegas, I said, "You're Albanian, aren't you?" And he looks at me and goes, "How did you know?" I said, "Well, I can tell." I told him my name, and I was very impressed that he knew who I was. And to me, that's the greatest feeling in the world. So when we celebrated a couple of years ago the Kosovo's 10th anniversary, it was an honor for me to be there and be part of the celebration. So I feel like your family is my family, and as long as I'm in Congress, you'll have me fighting every single day for the Albanian nation, for the Albanians, whether they be in Albania or Kosovo or Montenegro or Macedonia or right here in America. You can count me in. I'll always be there watching you back. Thank you. And we've eaten at Elmi's restaurant before. The food's very good.
We'll do it again.
We gotta do it more often.
Yeah, more often.
More often.
I'm going to be just very short. Dear Congressman Engel, thank you very much for coming to the Vatra House. Thank you very much for all that you did, that you've done in U.S. Congress for America and for Albanians in Balkans, especially for Kosovo. You are a hero. May God bless you, your family, and United States of America.
Thank you. Mr. Congressman, first and foremost, I want to thank you for being here. It's an honor for us to have you here, and thanks for all the work that you've done in all the Albanian lands. Although we have a lot, as Nazo can tell you, about Chamria, and we still have a lot of work to do towards democracy. But thank you for everything you've done, and we also ask, and a lot of people here agree with me, I believe, as the head of the Foreign Relations Committee, that you help us go toward democracy in Albania proper. A lot of us believe that it's going backwards right now. March 2nd, you know there's a protest, and there's a constitutional crisis going in Albania. So we ask for your help at some point. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Harry and I talk about Albania all the time. The last time each one of us was in Albania was together.
Right.
And we are concerned about Albania because it's not, it should be working more closely with the West, in my opinion, than with the United States. And we don't see a lot of that. And there are other things we see that, partnerships between the Albanian government and Vučić, things like that are very troublesome.
Yes.
Troublesome to us too.
I was supposed to be in Munich last week. Every year there is a security conference held in Munich, but and I'm invited, and it's very worthwhile. But I did not go this year because I have an election. I have a primary on June 23rd. I just find it hard, other than to leave New York. I go to Washington is what I do that to raise money, which you have to raise for your campaign. I do that, but it's very hard for me to go to anything else while my election is right up here, so I didn't go. But hopefully after June 23rd we'll make up for it.
Congressman, with your permission, Congressman does not speak some of the stuff that he has done in the last few years or 30 years, but 2 years ago, his office worked very hard and he qualified Kosovo. It's called this Millennium Challenge Corporation. I don't know if any of you know. Kosovo got approved, and 2 years ago the congressman delivered about $50 million in Kosovo. This is a gift. The money is used for energy, rule of law, education, and various other things, energy, cleaning of environmental issues and things like that. And Congressman last year, he visited Belgrade in July. He went and met with Vučić and met with all the leadership. And from there, he traveled to Preševa and he met with the people of Preševa. He says, we have not forgotten you. And then he came to Kosovo. He cut the ribbon on a new embassy in Pristina, which is a remarkable, not just a building, but a symbol of America's investment, almost $300 million. From there, a road was named in his honor from Kosovo to Albania, from Baramsor to from Jakova, which connects this region. For 70 years has been apart. There was a ceremony, the road connects together.
Very fitting.
And very fitting, and he went to Macedonia, so he constantly continues to push the effort to promote democracy. Constantly he does. He's just a great friend. And I don't have to tell him, he does it out of his heart, he does it because he cares.
I want to thank you, Mr. Congressman, for coming here. I'm sorry, maybe my English is not perfect, but I am trying to tell what I'm feeling.
It's fine.
Really, for us, you are a hero, because without too much expose, you did a lot for Albania, in Kosovo, and all over where they are. My family came in Albania from Chamarina. They are Albanian nationality. But in 1944, the Greek government did the small Holocaust to my people. All of Albanian people, they throw out, they killed, they did any kind of things. Then some people never are imagined what they did for them. But I believe in your potential than what you did for 30 or more years for all Albanian. You will be long life living to do same thing for Chamarina. Because for Albanian is something special. When Albanian had nationality problems, Albanian are all the time both together. And they supporting each other in every moment. What Kosovo has now, there is your job. Thank you very much. And I say from the bottom of my heart, work hard for Albanian because they need your support. And I want to thank your support, and I want to thank America helps for Albania, because we really are small nationality, but we have a very big heart. And we never forget the friendship. We never forget who is helping us.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for coming.
That's a very good point, and something I tell to everybody. When Americans in Congress travel around the world, particularly on the Foreign Affairs Committee, but anyone travels around the world, the best reception they get are from Albanians. I mean, people who, and I always say, the best friends that America has overseas are Albanian friends, and that is really true. And I have heard many American diplomats or some ambassadors who were part of the American group in Albania and in Kosovo agree with me and say, when you are an ambassador to Kosovo, and then a few years later you get to another country, it's a lot different, because in Kosovo and Albania, people are used to welcoming, to be welcomed as Americans, and some of the other countries is not necessarily that. So I think that, and I've said this for years with a lot of American diplomats, and it hasn't been one who disagrees with me.
Mr. Engel, thank you very much for coming here, and thanks very much for everything you have done for Albanian people. Please, in 2013 in Albania is installed a totalitarian regime, like a Erdogan in Turkey. We not have right now constitution. We do not have high constitution. Criminals came in the parliament. Criminals came in the government, in up government and down. And the situation is like a totalitarian regime. And everything is under the observation of State Department. Between stabilization and democracy, State Department choose stabilization. I think this is not it's not a good way. Please do something. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very good.
And Mr. Congressman, just to add one more thing to what, so we have a prime minister that's very good at putting on a show. And sometimes that show, it looks good from the outside, but we have families there, and everyone here has families in Albania, and they know that that show is not what the reality on the ground is. And that's why we're asking you, as the head of the Foreign Relations Committee, we need your help in the future, please.
Sure. Yeah.
No, he's
Congressman, I agree with all of them, as all Albanians feel the same way about you and your great work. Thank you. Thank you so much. And lately we are concerned with the situation, what's going on in talks between Serbia and Kosovo. We feel that something very unfair is going on. While Serbs can behave any way they want. They can be aggressive, they can be arrogant, they can be an enemy, they can work against Kosovo day and night openly. They say openly, we will never recognize Kosovo independence, drop the sanctions, I mean the tariffs. They are asking for drop the tariffs, for them to please come to the table, to talk to Albanians, and to talk about what? To destroy the autonomy, I mean the independence of Kosovo. That's how we feel, most of us feel like that.
I feel that way too.
Is there any way, now the question, is there any way, you have very important role as a chairman, and we know in the beginning, 30 years ago, America wasn't so much about for Kosovo, was for unity of Yugoslavia, but we together, all of us, Harry, all these people around, we worked so hard together, it changed the opinion in America about Kosovo and Albania. I think the time has come again to try to do something that way. And you as a chairman, a very important position, you can you put more pressure, and what do you need from us to do to put more pressure in the administration to tell us, because we had the ambassador last night, he said, oh, you have to trust us. Yeah, but you're lifting the sanctions, you're not telling us what is going on. Even some of us had a question about the sovereignty, he said, we will support independence. What about sovereignty? He was quiet. So something is not right. What can we do to change it?
Well, yesterday my committee had a hearing on something totally different, on this virus that everybody's worrying about, which is coronavirus. And we also talked about American policy with regards to Iran. We did all that with Mike Pompeo, who was the Secretary of State. Before he came to testify before my committee publicly, we met privately, just the two of us, in a small room in the Foreign Affairs Committee complex. And I said to him, I know that we're not going to talk about this today. I said, but in the future, I need to sit down with you and talk to you about the Balkans. And I said to him that I'm very connected with it and very concerned about events going on in Kosovo, Albania, and the way our American officials are cozying up to people like Vučić, who is a Putin buddy. And we said we would get together and we would talk about it as soon as possible. So I'm going to keep applying pressure. There are a lot of things that are going on that I don't understand. There was a lot of criticism of Ramush because of the tariffs, but there doesn't seem to be any criticism of some other people. And I think this selective criticism is what bothers me. And I don't think it's fair. If we're talking about ascension to the European Union, both in terms of Serbia and Kosovo, that Serbia continues to play these games by trying to get countries to de-recognize Kosovo, plays these games with all kinds of things, and somehow or other he gets away with it. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Kosovo and Belgrade in the European Union, but it can't be that Belgrade moves along when Belgrade is doing everything possible to block Kosovo from UNESCO, block Kosovo from any United Nations affiliated groups. I mean, it can't be. If you're negotiating with someone, then they have to negotiate with you in good faith. If they're not doing it in good faith, why are you sitting down with them? Because you're going to get nothing. On two separate occasions, one was about a year ago and one was about 2 years ago, Vučić, the Serbs contacted me and said Vučić was going to be in Washington and he'd like to meet with me, and I said fine. And both times he came to my office and we sat down and talked. You know, I just watched, my wife likes to watch the Academy Awards. You know, they gave the Oscars a few weeks ago. The best actor in town is Vučić. And he deserves an award because he's such a liar and he's such a phony and he's such a great actor. You know, he acts like he wants peace, but behind the scenes he does everything possible, in my opinion, to scuttle the peace, to stop the peace. So I'm on top of it. It's a tough fight, but what we want is fairness. You know, Bill Clinton, when I talked to him and others, he decided in 1999 to save lives. He would bomb in Kosovo to save Albanian lives. That took a great deal of courage. When Bill Clinton left office and George W. Bush became president, you know, different parties, right? Bill Clinton's a Democrat, I'm a Democrat, and the Republican was George Bush. I didn't know how George Bush would act. He acted pretty well, I thought. He was also showing he's a friend of Kosovo. So I'm concerned now because, you know, the Trump administration, we really don't know, in my opinion, what side they're on and, you know, and where they're on. And that's why I'm going to try, even though we're in different parties, I'm going to try to see what I can do. Because, look, I care about Kosovo, and I care about the Albanian people, and I care about America. So I want to see a partnership. You know, you go to the Balkans, and as an American, not only as Eliot Engel, but if nobody knew who I was, they would hear I'm an American, they would be opening their doors, and they'd be wonderful. I want to make sure that Trump and his administration get all the facts about Kosovo and Albania, because I don't know what they're getting now. I did ask around, and some people whom I respect told me that they thought that Trump was going to help involving Kosovo and some of these other things. But we'll see. We'll see.
Thank you.
Dear Congressman, welcome here. As any Albanians, we appreciate what you did done for Albania people. I visit Albania on last year when I passed in Kosovo. I see your name, I was so proud.
Thank you.
In the highway. So please, last year we did for war crime what Serbia did in Kosovo in Congress. which one you directed.
Hearing, we had the hearing.
And since that
And
time,
by the way, you should know about the hearing that we had.
Yes.
You know, again, I want to give Harry credit because Harry asked me if it could be done, and we kept at it, talking about this together, and Harry played a major role in making sure that I was able to push to have that hearing.
we appreciate very much for that. But since last time, Mr. Congressman, the Serbia go up, and I cannot believe if after Second War the Nazi system destroyed to go out talking, the Nazi Serb system talk with Kosovo victim. This really is disappointed Albanian people. Please, I know, I'm sure you can do everything what you can do to peace talk, not to use Serbia as a victim, but Kosovo, which one pay too much price, 20 women. They destroy family, everything. 13 people die, many people lose, they don't know where they are. And President of Serbia coming like this, coming from peace. He's coming from war crime, President. And talk with the victim who lose too many, who destroyed the land, who destroyed everything in Kosovo. I would like to say, God bless you again for what you did. God bless America, but please, if you can talk to Mr. Trump, explain who is Albania, who is Kosovo, which role, because I tell you here as a brother, never is going to have peace in Balkan if Kosovo not fix problem.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Congressman, to be here with us today, and for your time. I really appreciate for what you did during your life, if I can say that. It's just to appreciate is not enough, because you deserve more than appreciate. But all what I know to say for now. One question I have, if possible, about the International Court, you know very well that, and I heard from you before. They created to sue the people of Kosovo who liberate the country together with NATO, what Serbia inspected. And also in North Macedonia, the law of rule and courts have a separate or double rule about against Albanians and different for others. For example, more than 10 people kill it in same day and same time, and more than 20 they put it in jail and sue it forever in North Macedonia. So, it's possible you to use your influence in the Congress, the justice in North Macedonia to be on the right track against the Albanian people. If possible, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Miss?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Eliot Engel. I'm pleased and honored to be in front of you here and asking you a question. Even if you don't have an answer, at least I would love to hear an opinion from you. I was born and raised in Kosovo, and for years I've been always hearing in news about negotiation every single day. But as people that we lived in Kosovo, we never heard of any explanations for any of our president. Our president was here right before you came here. And I just want to know and if it's fair for us as citizens of Kosovo to never know what's going on behind the doors. We all hear negotiations since 2011, March, and we never know what's going on. Like, I just want to know if your influence, you can speak with them and tell them that as people, as I'm youth, right? So I need to know what's going on. The only word I ever heard from our president is that everything is going out well, but in fact, what is going well? Nothing. Nothing. We never ever want. Yeah, Hashem. Yes, exactly. So yes, that's my question. And even if you don't have an answer, I appreciate you giving me and being able to ask you this question.
So I'm told that Dachi was here. Were you able to ask him this?
No.
We asked.
He
She
wouldn't
was not
answer?
here that time.
He wouldn't answer even if he was here, but I wasn't able to ask that question.
Because he was just in Washington. I did meet with him this week in Washington. And I also need to tell you that I also put in a call to Kurti, and I just congratulated him on being elected. I try to work with everybody as much as I can and try to be fair. My guiding principle is only that I want to see Kosovo become part of the EU and part of NATO, just like Albania is part of NATO. And what can I tell you? These are difficult problems. And they're not solved very easily, and there are a lot of people that don't know and a lot of people that don't care. And no one leaves my office if their country's been good and they recognize Kosovo, then it's fine. If it's a country that doesn't recognize Kosovo, like I get some of these countries, they want me to help them with things, and I always say, well, I see you haven't recognized Kosovo. Tell me what the problem is. And it's usually some nonsensical, silly thing, you know. So I don't know what to tell you, other than that I don't take sides in elections in other countries. It's not my role to do it. My role is not even as Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman, as somebody who knows more about Kosovo and the Albanians than anybody else in Congress. Someone who has taken a position for many, many years and cares about the community. I try to influence it. I think that if we're talking about Kosovo's been getting a raw deal. There was an agreement, there was independence, there were demarcations set up, you know, what the borders, and suddenly some people want to move borders. You know, I'm convinced after talking to Vučić several times, that he hasn't said it to me, but I'm convinced of it. He wants border change. This is what he wants. He wants the mines. He wants, you know, this is what he wants. And I said that to him, and he didn't accept it. But I said it to him, and I said, as far as I'm concerned, you know, do everything possible to prevent any kind of border changes in Kosovo. And I said to him, once you start doing border changes in the Balkans, where does it end? What happens with a place like Republic of Srpska? What happens there? No. These are the borders of Kosovo, and we need to, you know, to work with the government to strengthen the government. The problem again is there are so many other problems in the world that Kosovo almost gets kind of lost in the shuffle. The European Union has been very unfair, in my opinion. I had them all sitting, the top officials, sitting in my office in Washington about maybe 3 years ago, something like that, including Mogherini. Yeah, Mogherini. And she was trying to get me to persuade the officials of Kosovo to do the demarcation with Montenegro. And I said, well, what's in it for the Kosovars? What do they, you know, they do that? Well, blah, blah, blah. And then they said, they talked about visa liberalization. And I said, okay, well, if they get visa liberalization, then perhaps they'll have to make the decision. I can't make the decision for them. They'll make the decision. Maybe it's worth their while. And so they did ratify it. Kosovo did ratify it, and no visa liberalization. And we're still talking every time they want Kosovo to do something. Well, you do this, and you get liberalization. Get rid of a tariff, you'll get visa liberalization. Well, they're a bunch of liars. I don't, you know, and Vučić, of course, his buddy is Putin. So can you get a bigger liar than Putin? So I'm on top of it, and thank you for your, you know, for your feelings. Thank you for explaining how you feel. I have to agree with you.
Tash, për përfundim, Falni, besoj keni marrë përgjigjet mjaftueshme. Mos ta lodhim kongresistin.
Yes.
For the end, I want personally to ask you something for you to have considered in Washington, talking about visas. Same topic. Because in U.S., majority of businesses are restaurants, construction, and real estate investments owned by Albanian Americans. We've had quite a success on this, these industries, and others, new others in engineering, doctors, and all that. But this is a big industry, and we have big time needs for workers. That whoever you talk to in business, particularly in a restaurant, and real estate and construction, we're having problems. We don't have enough workers. Having problems in Kosovo and Albania and all the Albanians in the Balkans. I think this would solve quite a big problem for us here in U.S. and will make a big difference, big impact in mentality and new state building society with a Western mind, and particularly USA thinking. We want to see if you can ask State Department to extend a working visa for people that are qualified professionals, cooks, nurses, contractors, and all of the.
So the visa expires and they're having difficulty.
They have to go.
Getting it renewed. They just have to go.
They have to go, or a renew. It could be both ways. Now you'll say easy said and done. Would they return? Yes, because it would be an agreement between whoever hires them in U.S. as a company and individually. You are bound to the U.S. government that such an individual will have a place to stay, food to eat, and they'll pay their taxes. At the end, they'll have to return on time because we will guarantee that. And this, not that would prosper Kosovo or Albanians wherever they live, this would change totally mentality of work and becoming more entrepreneurs and doing the right way of doing business, which is U.S. And they would realize also that the money does not grow on trees, and that you have to work hard for it. So we will send less money that we've been supporting for 30 or 50 years. Our families and cousins and brothers and sisters there. This would change complete their mentality and would solve quite a unemployment in the region.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Thank you.
You have to welcome.
Congressman, thank you for being with us here. I just have a question because you've heard about issues in Albania and Kosovo. Can you tell us about your primary, because you said you're being primaried in June. What's the perspective of that? How's that looking? And also, what do you see coming up in November in terms of elections? And will that perhaps change anything in terms of how we look forward? And because we want to have, one more thing, we come from different political persuasions here. You know, I'm pretty sure you know that. But when it comes to supporting Albanian friends such as you, we are also, all of us are Democrat with you, even though most of us are not, but we are totally in support of your agenda.